Welcome back to InSift channel. Are you feel like you're sprinting on a hamster wheel all day, juggling a dozen things at once, and at the end of it, you realize you've achieved nothing? You're busy, but are you effective? You know that feeling, right? The constant nagging pressure to do more. Well, today, we're going to challenge that whole idea, this modern cult of productivity where being busy is somehow a badge of honor. We're going to explore a really counterintuitive idea, that the real secret to achieving more might just be doing less. I mean, does this sound like your day? You're sitting in a meeting, but you're also trying to fire off emails. You're supposed to be writing a report, but ping, another notification just pulled you away. You feel like you're sprinting on a hamster wheel all day, juggling a dozen things at once, and at the end of it all, you look back and think, what did I actually get done? You're definitely busy, but are you being effective? Look, if that feels painfully familiar, it doesn't mean you're just disorganized or bad at managing your time. It means you've fallen into what we call the productivity trap. It's this growing chasm between all the frantic effort we're putting in and the meaningful results we're actually getting out. The multitasking myth. So let's dive right in and start by taking down the #1 culprit behind this whole trap, the myth of multitasking. We've all been told it's this amazing skill we need to master. But you know what? The science tells a completely different and, frankly, much more interesting story. First things first, let's get on the same page. When we talk about multitasking, we mean the idea that our brains can effectively handle several complex, attention-grabbing tasks at the exact same moment. But is that what's really going on in our heads? Yeah, well, here's the scientific reality check. What we call multitasking is actually something called task switching. See, your brain isn't running multiple programs at once like a computer. Nope. It's just flicking a switch, toggling back and forth between tasks incredibly fast. Our brains, neurologically speaking, just aren't wired to process 2 or more big tasks in parallel. And all that constant switching, it comes at a huge cost. Every single time we switch, we pay a little mental tax, and it adds up. It means it takes us longer to finish anything. We make way more mistakes. We have a harder time actually remembering what we just did. And, no surprise, we end up feeling totally fried and burnt out. It is, quite literally, the opposite of being productive. And don't think for a second this is some small niche problem. It's becoming our default mode of operating. Just look at this number, 29%. Almost a third of the time young people in America spend with media, they're juggling multiple things at once. We're training our brains to do this from a young age, and it's just destroying our ability to focus, the elite edge. So, if multitasking is such a trap, how in the world do the most successful people get so much done? Well, it turns out they do the exact opposite. Let's pull back the curtain on the counterintuitive habits of some truly elite performers. I know. This sounds like the setup for a really weird joke, right? A painter, a CEO, and a world-class athlete. What could they possibly have in common? Well, the answer reveals this incredibly powerful universal truth about what it takes to perform at the highest level. The first secret: there is no one-size-fits-all schedule. These people honored their own natural rhythm. You had your classic early birds like Georgia O'Keeffe finding inspiration at dawn, but then you have absolute legends like Pablo Picasso and Zaha Hadid, who were night owls, doing their most profound work while everyone else was asleep. The lesson here isn't to wake up at 5 a.m. It's to figure out when your peak time is, and then guard it with your life. And when it was their time to work, they were all in, 100%. This quote from Picasso just says it all. While I work, I leave my body outside the door. It's about total immersion, what we'd now call deep work. It didn't matter what time of day it was. When it was time to create, the rest of the world just ceased to exist. And here's secret number 2. And it's a huge one. They understand that performance isn't just about the work itself. It's about the recovery. Bill Gates is famous for his think weeks. He literally goes into total isolation just to read and think big thoughts. Elon Musk uses themed days to focus his entire brain on just one company at a time, avoiding that costly switching between Tesla and SpaceX. And then you have someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, who treats his sleep and his diet with the exact same discipline as his training. For them, rest isn't lazy. It's a strategic weapon. Find your rhythm. Okay, so this brings us to the really practical part. How can we start working with our body's natural energy instead of constantly fighting it like a machine? Well, the answer is in a fascinating biological principle called Ultradian Rhythms. So you've probably heard of our 24-hour circadian rhythm that handles our sleep. Well, think of ultradian rhythms as these shorter energy cycles that happen all day long. They're like waves. For about 90 minutes, your brain is at its peak, able to maintain super high focus. But after that, it hits a trough. It needs a break to recharge before it can catch the next wave. The key is to structure your day to ride these waves, not fight them. It's a really simple 3-step cycle. First, you go deep. Immerse yourself in one and only one important task for about 90 minutes. Then, and this part is absolutely non-negotiable, you take an intentional rest. For 15 or 20 minutes, you step away completely. No screens. Go for a walk, stretch, just stare out the window. After that, you're recharged and ready to dive into the next 90-minute sprint with a fresh mind. So here are a few simple ways you can start doing this. Like tomorrow. Start by just noticing your energy levels. When do you feel sharpest? Schedule your most important work for those peak times. Try to get some sunlight in the morning. It helps set your body's clock. Take those short breaks seriously. And remember, protecting your rest isn't a sign of weakness. It's not lazy. It's a core part of your performance strategy. The power of less. So you can see how all these pieces, single tasking, protecting your time, working with your body's energy, they all start to connect. They're all part of a much bigger, more powerful shift in mindset. It's a philosophy called Essentialism. This quote from Greg McKeown, who literally wrote the book on this topic, just nails it. Very successful people say no to almost everything. It's not about getting more things done. It's about getting the right things done. And that, my friends, means you have to start saying no way more often than you say yes. So what is essentialism? It's a simple idea, but it's not an easy one. It is the disciplined pursuit of less. It's about constantly asking yourself, is this truly essential? And if the answer isn't a clear, immediate, heck yes, then it has to be a no. This isn't about being lazy. It's about being ruthless with your priorities. And listen, this goes way beyond your to-do list. This is about how you spend all your precious energy. It's about cutting out the noise in meetings, in your inbox, and even in your conversations, so you can make space for the stuff that actually moves the needle. This even applies to how we talk. Check this out. There are basically 2 ways we respond to people. There's the shift response, where we hijack the conversation to talk about ourselves. Oh, that happened to you? That reminds me of this one time. But then there's the support response. This is the essential one. It's where you keep the focus on the other person. Wow, tell me more about that. And you build trust by actually listening. It's conversational essentialism. And here's a brilliant little tool you can use immediately. Before you jump into a conversation or unmute yourself in a meeting, just ask yourself this one simple question. Use the acronym W.A.I.T. Why am I talking? Is what I'm about to say going to add real value, or am I just talking to fill the silence? It's a simple check that makes everything you do say so much more impactful, and that brings us right back to the beginning. Real productivity isn't about cramming more stuff into your day. It's about the disciplined pursuit of doing less but doing it better. It's about finding your rhythm, focusing like a laser on one thing at a time, and having the courage to say no to everything else. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. What is the one thing you are going to say no to tomorrow to finally make space for what is essential? You've got the tools now, ultradian rhythms, deep work, and the courage to say no. The question is, will you use them? Thanks for watching InSift. Keep turning that wheel, and we'll see you in the next one.